Are you looking to build your church's group ministry? Get the training and resources you need with All Access, a new plan from the Small Group Network. I'm James Browning with the Small Group Network. For $49 a month or just $4.90 a year, you get all access to courses, workshops, coaching, and more. Plus, half off all of our in-person events, including the lobby and Accelerate. And the best part is, All Access is a church-wide license. That means every staff member, every volunteer, and every leader at your church is included for that same price. Head over to smallgroupnetwork.com/allaccess to learn more and compare plans. All Access is your community unlocked.
Hey, what's going on, SG Squared listener? Jason Banzoff here, producer for the Group Talk network of podcasts. We're going to be playing some former episodes to give you new content every single week. Some of these may be from the past couple of years, but they are still relevant today. You may hear something about COVID or some other things that may have gone at that time, so don't be worried. We did not go back in time. However, these are going to be great episodes for you to listen to, so make sure you tune in to SG Squared every single week. Now on to the episode. Hello, and welcome to SG Squared. Steve Gladen, Global Small Groups Pastor at Saddleback Church, pulls from his 20-plus years of small group ministry experience to encourage and equip listeners to lead more effective small group ministry. Sit back, learn, and enjoy SG Squared with Steve Gladen.
So, Steve, our leadership learning today is on teamwork. Tee this up for us.
No, teamwork is, I love teamwork. I have 3 interview questions, and one of them is, did you play a team sport? And I'm not looking at that because I'm looking to launch some league or something like that. But teamwork is understanding I bring value to something. So when you play in any team sport, I don't care. My daughter did competitive cheer. My son did basketball. If any exposure, no matter how good or how bad you are, when you're on a team, you understand there's a part that I bring that I've got to do with excellence. But at the same time, there's parts where, I don't bring the best to it, and I've got to, help someone else out. And part of what you're doing is learning, how do I be exponential to other people by doing what I do best. And when you're talking about teamwork, there's a number of great things that can transpire with that. And so one of the things is, and by the way, it doesn't mean if you didn't play a team sport, I wouldn't hire you. It's just, I know there's a little something that clicks with people when they've played a team sport, but there's many acrostics for team as you're doing that. But one of the things that, before I get into that, you've always got to be thinking through, who is my team? And when I was the solo person at Saddleback, when I came on staff, I was the only small group pastor that was tasked with focusing on that. And part of what I had to understand is I had to build a team. They were all volunteers, but I had to build a team because I know that I would be better together with them. And so one of the things that you want to do is when you're thinking of teamwork is you want to say, how do I trust people? And part of trusting is, the longer you're together, the more you understand each other's idiosyncrasies, what they like, what they don't like. But the more you start to trust people and trust that God gave them a gift, then that's going to extend yourself. It's going to extend your reach. It's going to extend who you are and what God has called you to do at your church. And so what builds trust? Time. Just more time together, high communication. I just met with my team this morning before we jumped on this podcast, talked about, how we stubbed our toe a little bit and how we got to step up the communication and kind of get into each other's worlds without, being worried about each other. But it helps us build trust because no one on your team wakes up to say, how can I mess you up? Because the team is always trying to do things better together, which leads me to the other thing, which is energy. When you build a great team, there's energy because when you are better together, you may be feeling flat and they'll bring some energy, or you're bringing energy when they're being flat, or together you brainstorm and, a new idea comes up. But there is a part of team where you get some energy. Affirmation is the A. How are you building affirmation? And that's one of my biggest learnings as a team lead, is understanding that so often I'm just cranking out stuff and I'm moving at such a pace that I've got to consciously think through, okay, what's the affirmation? How can I give affirmation? Because I'm always thinking about task over people sometimes, and that's not healthy for teams. The other piece is management. And Peter Drucker just had a great line, you can't manage what you don't measure. And in teamwork, people hate that because, that's accountability. And we love to measure things because measuring things is people, and people are souls, and souls are what we're trying to get into the kingdom piece. But the quick acrostic on team that, Derek's going, hey, burn in time. But, something else that goes with this whole leader learnings piece is in team, as you're thinking about teamwork, there's 2 H words I want to give to you. One is hate and one is humility. And part of that is you hate gossip. You hate gossip with a passion. And Matthew 18:15-17 is a verse that we've got to burn into our consciousness with each other, because we have to know that, gossip tears the body down. And when you look at the list of sins that are listed in the New Testament, when gossip's present, it's always right there with murder, adultery, all kinds of little goofy things like that. So that's the part you want to hate gossip. The other thing is you want to bring humility. Part of teamwork is understanding that it's the team that you want to win. It's just not you that you want to see, win. Don't worry about the credit. God sees what you do, and you don't have to worry about trying to, boost yourself up. Cream always rises to the top. And when you do your job, God will make sure that you get the credit that you deserve with that. I love Philippians 2:3-4. I'm reading out the New Contemporary Version. It says, when you do things, do not let selfishness or pride be your guide. Instead, be humble and give more honor to others than to yourselves. Do not be interested only in your own life, but be interested in the lives of others. And so teamwork is our learning, our leadership learning that we're just going to push through for each one of us. Build your team is the question you have to ask is, do I have a team? And am I doing these things?
So great. Thanks, Steve. On to our trending topic of the day. Steve, you had previewed earlier that we're talking about stacking, and you said how you went to this Buffini company. How does stacking apply to small group point people today?
Well, as much as I wanted to be stacking pancakes, because that's what I feel like right now, because I'm in the new year and I'm trying to work on health, and it just sucks. What I wouldn't do for a stack of pancakes right now.
You look slimmer though.
I wear back ear clothes, but the thing I love about this is that what I love and I hate with this. So I was in this room with 500 people who were pumped about this whole process called stacking, which I'll define for you in just a second. But what I hated was they were taking biblical concepts and they were applying it to make millions of dollars. And not that millions of dollars isn't bad, or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands isn't bad. But the point is that so often in the church, we're not doing what they're doing because, we're slacking. And so when they're talking about stacking, it's a term that they're using, just saying in customer service. And so let me give you the churchy terms that they were talking about so I don't cloud waters. Really what they're talking about customer service, they're talking about assimilation, and they're talking about follow-up. And in each one of these, they're broadcasting through what are the things that you stack on top of each other to do a high grade A job of connecting with people and pulling them into your network. We're threading together in this whole thing. We're talking about teamwork, and we talked about the power of aligning the temple courts in the Saddleback Scoop with the Class 101. And there's so much value in stacking because it helps lead people into a deeper relationship. And for us, it's a deeper relationship with Christ. It's a deeper relationship in what we want them to do in becoming the leader that they are. But they work through, and this is just no lie, I'm sitting there listening to this, I'm just like going, did you read Purpose Driven Church? Because they have these concentric circles, and they're always trying to move different levels of care for the different levels of the concentric circles. And in small group life, we're thinking through that in the stacking standpoint of view is we have terms for we have categories that we put our groups in. We have a P0, a P1, a P2, a P3, and a P4, and each one of those stand for different things. A group that's in the P0, they're just coming hot out of the campaign, and that's what we're going to have a bunch of those groups, probably 1,000 of those groups, as we head into the earlier part of this year in our campaign that we're doing on Dreams and Open Doors. But they also have, then we have, a P1, a P2, a P3, and a P4 category. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, you can kind of pick up chapter 14 in Small Groups with Purpose, and you kind of see how we define that and level that. But one of the things you have to understand in stacking is that one part of stacking is the person themselves. Where are they moving through your concentric circles? And so in small group ministry, when you look at all the people that all the souls that God has put you in charge of, where are they moving in your concentric circles? How are you developing the people? We always say in the concentric circles, you just got to think developmentally. Think developmentally from being seeker to staff someday, and how you are moving them. Then you got part of where stacking comes in its purest sense is what are some of the things you are stacking so you can get to know these people better so that they trust you. So when you push them to try to take a step that they're not comfortable with, they'll do it. So it builds their faith. And so, their opportunity to serve Christ, it just grows and magnifies. And they develop in this place, it's so funny because they're very churchy terms. They talk about 3 areas in stacking: contact, community, and care. And again, let me translate for you. These are not the words that they would have used, but they are definitely words that we go through. But they think in contact of, okay, how are we doing mailings to them? How are we understanding all the contact stuff that we need to know with them? We call this hard data. In our context, this is, when the group meets, what they're studying, and who's in the roster, the time they meet, the day they meet, all kinds of, concrete data of where the group meets, who the group leader is, and all their contact information. But they're just going through, you gotta develop this contact list so you know who they are. And then they talk about, developing the software, and you got to figure out, how do you do that? And you may be at a church and you go, I can't afford software. Just a quick shout out to my buddy Boyd Pelly and church teams, probably one of the most economical, softwares that are out there. But really, on an Excel spreadsheet, you can keep track. I mean, I did that until we had 1,500 groups, and then we developed our own software at the time, way back in the early 2000s. But you got to have some type of way to collect the data and have it at your fingertips. But then also in the context, they talk about the soft contact stuff, and that's the heart spot. You want to know that Derek's married to Julie. They have a child named Azariah, just beautiful. You haven't been watching her on social media. She's gorgeous. Buy a shotgun, brother. Why you can. You probably can't do it in California now I'm thinking about it. But anyways, you get my point. But you gotta know what makes them tick, and what's Julie's heartbeats and what's Derek's heartbeat, and what does Azariah love to do besides, Disney princesses, which is, I'm not sure if there is anything else.
Not much.
But you got to know their birthdays. You got to know their anniversaries. You're starting to know the soft contact of what makes them work up. And so they're stacking all of these things to build in another area, which is care. And in care, they're writing personal notes. You're trying to say, how do I stay in touch with this person? In a day of electronics, where mail is, not even thought of anymore, a personal note into people is a powerful tool. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be caring. And so you can do personal notes, visits. And I know I'm not talking about visiting their group, although if you wanted to visit someone's small group, I would encourage you to do it when they're doing an activity like, if it's Super Bowl, you can go visit a group when they're having a Super Bowl party. So they see you more in a party atmosphere. If it's Valentine's Day and they're doing a Valentine's party, or if they're going to see a movie or something like that as a group, whatever fellowship side the group's doing in. If I were training a community leader to coach them on how to build a relationship with the group leader, I would say go on an activity point. But when they're talking about visits, obviously they're thinking a little bit more one-on-one, and they're talking about how can you pop by their house and, just give them a little bit of a gift, just to say, thanks for doing it. Thanks for doing it. I remember when I first came on staff, I sent these little boxes out and it had all this goofy stuff. This was probably over 20 years ago that I just sent goofy little things in there, like a $1,000 bar that says you mean $1,000 to me, and I would send them a little glue stick and say stick to something. There are better things. I can't remember what I sent to them.
Can you send me $1,000 bar with $1,000?
I wish I could. But the point is that you bring just a little something to them. Doesn't cost a lot, but it just shows that you're thinking about them and that you care about them. And I dare to say, probably not too many of us drop by our leaders, and probably because we don't have the relationship with them. But hopefully, if you build enough relationship with them, you can just swing by and say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Could I just swing by and drop something off to you? You'd never go in on a visit because then you're wrapped up in there. Stay on the front porch, and then you can always just say, just let me pray with you. And then sending little videos that you care about them. The beautiful thing is you can say in goofy videos, you can say training videos, you can send videos, hey, I just thought of you, and here's a verse I wanted to do for you. But there's all kinds of care that you can do. And part of what you're trying to figure out on this thing is you're always trying to discover who they are. What makes them go? What are their hobbies? What's their family like? What do they like to do? What's impacted them lately? What's their life story? We talk about that in a number of different areas through my books and through trainings that we do. And then the last area they touch on is community. And it's so funny because they literally talk about breaking bread together. Tell me they're not ripping off the Gospels.
Wow.
It's killing me. But they're saying, how do you break bread with people? And, again, a meal with one of your leaders is going to go exponentially far. You want to be able to do that. Or if you want to take it past the one-on-one, you can invite all your leaders over for some, we call them community huddles. We would say, hey, gather all your group leaders just at one place, and you can buy them pie, you can buy them coffee, you could do a number of different things. But, where breaking bread is like one-on-one, your family and their family, this thing that they have a very secular term for it, but, we call them community huddles, but where you just say it's one to many group leaders is a part of that. And then the other part of community is how do you build with them in social media? Again, if I were we call them community leaders, but if you're a coach or if you're the small group pastor, I would put every one of my hosts in a Facebook group. I would use social media to my advantage. I'd use social media to be able to send pictures and videos and ideas. But the point is, use technology to build community. Don't use technology to pepper them with your stuff. And so it's this whole part of stacking. It's common sense with some of us, but when you stack all the things in these three areas of contacts and care and community, you really start to see things happen. So the Buffini Company is doing amazing stuff on a secular way to make money. But what I just challenge you today is with this simple question. What are you stacking? If you're just stacking phone call upon phone call upon phone call, or let me take it one step worse. If your leaders are just feeling stacked by email and then email and then email and then email, spice is the variety of life. Not only what are you stacking, but are you stacking something that's redundant or too much? And this is where you want to go into touch points and how you can just touch your leaders and get to know them. So more on stacking much later, but I digress and went way too long.
That was great. I'm so glad you went to this Buffini Company event. That's crazy how much biblical principles they're pulling from to lead their organization.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. I read the bio on the leader, Brian, and it's actually got a little bit of a spiritual root. And actually, if I had to guess, I'm almost positive he's a follower of Christ, because one of his sessions was on what we would call soul care.
Wow.
But it was amazing. So anyways, again, you can think about this, and by teaming up with them, and not that they would know me or I would know them, but by teaming up, again, teamwork is also, getting injections from other places.
Insightful discussions today on teamwork and stacking. Steve, thanks so much for bringing that to us. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us today. Do you have an idea for us or a small group question that you would like us to address on a future podcast? If so, send us an email, grouptalk@smallgroupnetwork.com. That's grouptalk@smallgroupnetwork.com. Until next time, have an amazing week.
You got to get that sexy voice in it. Group Talk.
Group Talk.
At saddlebacknetwork.com. Saddleback? Did I say Saddleback? Small Group Network. Now I've screwed all the listeners up. Group Talk at smallgroupnetwork.com. Yeah.
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Steve Gladen on Small Groups. If you like what you've heard, make sure you subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you want to learn more, make sure you check out smallgroupnetwork.com for more resources.
Hi, it's James Browning again. I wanted to let you know that we have a big event coming up this July. We are combining our Align and Accelerate training workshops for small group point people just like you. Day one will feature Align, a training overview of small group ministry covering the big pictures and strategies of small group ministry, plus how to align it with your church's mission and vision. It's perfect for those new or returning to small group ministry. Days 2 and 3 are Accelerate, an intensive workshop that dives deep into small group strategies. You and your team will come out with a 12 to 18 month plan for your small groups. This workshop is perfect for churches who want to take their existing small group ministry to the next level. This event takes place at the Saddleback Rancho Retreat Center in beautiful San Juan Capistrano, California. Lodging and lunches are included. You have the flexibility of choosing to attend Align or Accelerate, or get a discounted rate for attending both. Oh, and if you happen to be an All Access member, your whole team always gets 50% off. So we'll see you this July 11th through 13th at Align and Accelerate. For more information, go to smallgroupnetwork.com/conferences or check it out in the show notes.